All right. Do you think most people in GamerGate did a good job condemning harassment?
Yes.
If you saw someone, you already talked about this a little bit, but you can go into more detail if you want. If you saw someone on your side, quote unquote, doing something you thought was bad, how would you handle that situation?
Like I said, we were part of the anti-harassment sort of group. We would send messages both to them directly saying, "Hey, why are you doing this? Calm the hell down." I even had some like I wasn't harassing ever, and they weren't that extreme on it, but they would like talk to me to calm me down if I was getting really worked up. Because at one point I got very mad that somebody had like specifically targeted me. So I was like really venting, and they were just like, all right, breathe, breathe, calm down. And so we also did that with others to try and talk them through it. Uh, and if it was clear, like for instance, a lot of the trolling, doxing, automatically Bill Wagner crew, just report them.
You know, it's amazing actually that Twitter didn't really do shit about like these people. It like really is actually like the third party
Really
trolls.
didn't, yeah.
Like they were so openly and brazenly harassing and doxing people, like in the open. Like they weren't even trying to hide it. They'd be bragging about it on Twitter, and like Twitter would just do nothing most of the time.
Yep.
Like I understand the anti-GamerGators' frustration with that, like because like they're harassing them too, and like
Yep.
they're like, well, Twitter's not doing anything. It's like, yeah, they're not. They're really not. They're like I actually have a crazy guy who's been stalking me for like he's like I think he was from GG Revolt. I don't know. Maybe he's a third party troll, but I'm pretty sure I know who he is. I have a suspicion at least of who he is. And he's been harassing me ever since I got back on Twitter like 6 months ago, like tweeting every single day about me and like tagging me and tagging people I interact with, and just like anyone who mentions me on Twitter, they interact. They just jump in, like and I've reported him, and Twitter even temporarily suspended him. But then as soon as he got back on, he started doing the same thing again. And I'm like, whatever, I don't really care. But like, you know what? I'm actually so big now, like quote unquote, like I have such good networking that
Yeah.
his attempt to sabotage me in this space has completely failed. It's completely and utterly failed. Like I'm getting conversations with I've got over 20 Gamergate people booked. I'm getting conversations with some of the
Yeah.
big streamers in this space. Like I talked with
Yeah.
Counterpoints the other day. I've talked with Stardust. I talked with food shops. I'm setting up a panel with like 8 people who are interested in it. It's like I've got no problem. He's been trying to sabotage me in this space, and he's been completely fucking failing. But like, why are you still obsessed with me after like 9 years? Like, dude, like, what the fuck, dude? Like, move on with your life. Holy shit,
Yeah.
it's weird. It's sad. It's kind of sad.
It is.
I know you've talked about the harassment you received already. Do you want to? Do you want to talk about any? Is there any harassment you received that you want to talk about that you haven't brought up yet?
No, I think I mentioned the worst one. So like that actually did kind of hurt me because it was just like hit me part of my identity because my identity as like, SGW, even just my identity as a good quote unquote person because I had done all this volunteer work before I got like uh life got too intense. And so I really like I was proud of that, and they were just like it doesn't matter, and I was like, damn, that's cold. But most of it was like I think very in general. If I get like flamed a lot, I don't care. It's like if a toddler is constantly calling you a poopy head, why would you care? Like they're a toddler. Like it doesn't mean your head's literally made of poo. Like they're just a toddler. They're the one having a temper tantrum, not you. It doesn't mean anything. So that was generally my attitude with like a lot of the general harassment.
Why do you think the media largely didn't cover harassment against GamerGate supporters?
Yeah, because that would have been a very nuanced take that would have required a lot more uh, let's say, work, and you've seen exactly how intensive and time consuming, and even like Kretsky mentioned this, Gamergate is a time sink. Like, no, you can go talk about the Ukraine war and it somehow will still be less like time consuming. And I think that was it. Like it's just easier to just be like, nope, what people say, what you think, it's just leave it at that.
Do you have any thoughts on ZachAttack?
uh
Do you remember that?
which is that Momrar?
Oh, Mombot, the people who tried to harass
Mombot.
Mombot. Oh, they tried to dox her, actually. The anti-GamerGaters.
Yes. Yes, they did.
Izzy Galvez
And
allegedly tried to dox her.
and
And other people too. Like it was like 10 people. I'd have to pull up the exact number, but it was a lot of anti-GamerGate people in this private
yeah,
chat
and
room.
they had like a whole thing explaining that they had created like a fake account to trick them or
Yeah,
something.
it was a whole ruse. It was great though.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
like the greatest psyop of all
It was
time.
really cool.
But to their credit, GamerGazi did condemn. GamerGazi did condemn ZachAttack.
Oh, good.
We don't uh, we don't get credit when we condemn the bad actors on our side, but they did condemn the
Yes.
bad actors on their side, so I will give them credit there.
Yep.
What do you think of the term sealioning and how some GamerGate critics use the term?
Accurate. I even said this like back then. It's like, yeah, we were kind of doing that. Like, in order to be polite, we were also being like very civil. Now, I do think it's unfair to think you can just go on Twitter hashtag and be like, sup, you fucking nerds who like, you suck and you harass women. Yeah, you misogynist gamers, and then run away and be like, no, don't talk to me. I just because it's a public space doesn't mean you get to talk to me. You're annoying me. Like, calm the hell down. Like I said. But I will admit that, yeah, like it could be very annoying if you just think you're just casually talking about it, but you use the word, because sometimes with Twitter, it doesn't always include the hashtag. So if you weren't including the hashtag and you were just like talking about it casually and someone else like just randomly pops up and is like, sir, can you please point us to the harassment because I am part of the anti-harassment crew and we wish to report all harassment. Like that's fucking weird. I'll admit it. Like,
No,
yeah,
no, it's
that's
a
fucking
public
weird.
forum. If you post on a public forum and say, wow,
I
those
agree.
GamerGaters are misogynist harassers, and you're part of the harassment patrol, and you're like, hey, please point these people out. I want to make sure that we get this stuff off Twitter and we have a safer community
Okay,
for
like I
everybody.
said,
That's great. I think that's a
that is
good
what I
approach. That's
did.
a fair approach. It's a public statement in a
But
public forum.
it was part of Twitter. Like, there's a difference between the hashtag and then people just like mentioning it. Because sometimes if you searched for somebody like mentioning it, if you mention it, but you're not even using like the hashtag and you're not saying like the whole word, even just like, yeah, some of these gamers are really harassing me. People will be like, oh, who's harassing you? I will try and help you. Definitely some of them who
No.
were just like, one, they were making shit up. And so that definitely kind of showed that they were making shit up and they were kind of upset about that. I'll definitely say that. I had saved one of those conversations because I was like, head was like so fucked up from like the conversation where I was like, I had switched from into my smoker icon to switch back to my Facebook like real life photo because it was like they kept thinking I was a man and they were treating me more aggressively than they would have if they knew I was a woman. So I had to switch icons just for this thread, and I don't have the thread saved, which I regret. I wish I did because it was fucking mental, and it
Can
was
we
like I
wrap it
was
up?
literally asking people like,
I've got 10, 14, 20, 24 more questions. I'm going to skip some of them,
"Damn
I
it,
think.
that's a lot of questions." All right, lightning round.